Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the first of DeFelsco's webinars that we're going to be putting on periodically going forward. This webinar will be discussing the PosiTest LPD low voltage pinhole detector. But before we get into the operations of this, I want to say a big thank you to our international customers and dealers that are joining us. I know that this time may not be the most convenient for everyone, and going forward we are going to look at putting on multiple times so that it's a little easier for you and your staff to join us. Also, during the course of this webinar, feel free to type in any questions or comments you may have into the GoToMeeting chat box. At the end of this presentation, we will attempt to answer as many of them as possible. If we do run out of time, we will send a follow-up email to everyone that's participating with the answers to the questions I could not get to. So before we get into the actual operations of the PosiTest LPD low voltage pinhole detector, let's talk about a little bit of background. After a protective coating has been applied, it is important to ensure there are no defects or discontinuities present that expose the substrate beneath. Small areas of thin or missing coating, called pinholes or holidays, can become foci for corrosion and drastically reduce the life of a protective coating system. To find these flaws, a low voltage pinhole or holiday detector, such as the PosiTest LPD, is used in accordance with standards set forth by ISO, ASTM, NACE, and others. Each PosiTest LPD comes with a long-form certificate of calibration included at no additional charge. In use, an operator moves the moistened sponge over the coated surface. When a pinhole is encountered, current flows from the sponge into the substrate below. The current returns to the detector through the attached ground wire, completing the circuit and triggering audible and visible alarms. So let's get into the operation of the actual instrument. The PosiTest LPD has a simple 3-button control panel. There's a power button, an audio alarm toggle on and off, and a voltage selector. Now the PosiTest LPD has 4 voltage selections, a 9 volt, 267.5 volts, and a 90 volt. These settings are in accordance with the most common settings found in the standards, and the difference between the settings is related to the sensitivity of the instrument. Now when the PosiTest LPD is powered up, the instrument is going to do a self-check and check each voltage setting to make sure that it's still reading within tolerance. So I will power the instrument up by pressing the power button, and you will see the LED flash through each of the voltage settings. When that LED corresponding to a specific voltage is flashing, that's the instrument performing a self-check. Now, our audio toggle on and off is very simple. There's a green LED light that's right there. When I push the button and the green light's off, no audible alarm will sound. When I push it and the green light is on, the instrument will emit an audible tone if it detects a pinhole. We're going to leave it on for now, so that you can hear when I do a sample test here in a moment, you'll hear the alarm. Now, our voltage setting, simply push the button and the LED will scroll through the different settings. I hope you can see that okay there. As I change that, the blue light changes the setting. Wherever the blue light stops, that is the setting that the device will test at. So right now I have it at 67.5. That's the voltage that the instrument will test. Now, let's do a sample here. This is a simple metal panel that we had here in our facility. Nothing fancy about it. I've taken the corner here and scraped some of the coating off to expose the bare substrate beneath. It is important to remember that to perform an accurate pinhole or holiday test, the ground must be connected to the bare substrate underneath. So, to perform the test, I take our ground wire, and I connect it to the bottom of the instrument. This is a little tangled here, but just to make it simple, I'm going to leave it rolled up. I take our ground clip, and I attach it to the other end of the wire. Now, I'm going to take this clip, and I'm going to clip it on the corner here where I've removed some of that coating. Now, when I take the instrument, and having done this a few times, I know there are some pinholes right along this edge here. You can hear the audible alarm sound. Additionally, there's a visual alarm. The LEDs that light up for the voltage settings will flash. All 4 will flash at the same time as a visual alarm. Let's see if I can find one here. And you can see that here. All 4 lights are blinking, indicating that this is the visual alarm indicating a positive pinhole test. So one of the nice features about the PosiTest LPD, and one that we feel adds a lot of value to the instrument by potentially saving our customers lots of time and effort, is our ground sense feature. Now, our ground sense feature is a feature that's built in that gives the operator a way to tell if the instrument is remained grounded. What does that mean? Let's say you're testing on a large metal panel and you are quite a ways from your grounding point. You have the cable all the way extended. You're testing the surface. You don't detect any pinholes, only to come back to your ground point and find that your clip fell off. Well, now you've done an entire test thinking that you had no failure, when in reality you simply had no ground. So to help with this, our ground sense feature is a way for the operator to tell. Now, when I touch the surface and I do not have a positive test for a pinhole, in other words, there's no alarm, the blinking light for your voltage setting will stay constant. So, see that? The voltage light is staying constant right now. If I pull my ground clip off, it starts blinking again. Put the ground on, constant, take the ground off, blinking. So the operator can always tell if he's a ways from the grounding point, if I can get this to hold still there, if he's a ways from the grounding point, that he has a good connection. Oh, I must have lost there. Let's try that. There we go. See that? You can tell. So I just knew that my grounding clip came loose because my light started blinking again. Very handy feature, especially if you're going to be testing large areas and you need to make sure that your ground stays clipped and you can't see it from where you're testing. So some other features with this gauge, it was designed so that spare parts and repairs could be performed in the field fairly simply. And to do this, your ground wire is connected by simple banana clips. So this is just a wire with a banana clip on each end. The grounding clip is just an alligator clip. You can see that. That will connect to that banana clip. And at the bottom of the instrument, like I was saying, the other end of the ground wire just plugs in to a simple connection. So if you're out in the field and something happens to your instrument, you know, your wire gets run over by a fork truck, something like that. I mean, accidents do happen. We all know that. And you have to continue testing that day. You could go to a hardware store, an electronics store, buy a replacement part to get you through. Like I said, they're simple replaceable parts, and you could finish the job until such a time you could get back and order a replacement part from DeFelsco or whatever distributor you purchased the instrument from. Additionally, the gauge is powered by AAA batteries. No special power source, no special power cord. So, the PosiTest LPD is sold in 2 kits, a basic and a complete. Now, everything that I've been going over so far is from the basic kit. So let's take a look at that first. The basic kit includes your PosiTest LPD instrument, your rectangular sponge connector, which also has this special fastener, which is how you connect to the top of the instrument. We have our ground wire, which is a 15-foot ground wire, our grounding clip, which clips on the end there. We have earbuds. Now, the bottom of the PosiTest LPD instrument has a headphone jack right there. So let's say you're working in a loud or noisy environment, you're not sure you're going to be able to hear that audible alarm if it sounds. You can take these earbuds, plug them into the bottom here, put them in your ears. It helps a lot in a noisy environment for you to hear that alarm. We also have a carabiner, which snaps onto the ring down here, and you can clip it on your belt loop. And, of course, we have our certificate of calibration and user guide, which is a quick guide to get you started when this will both arrive in the box. Now, moving on to the complete kit. The complete kit contains everything the basic kit has. So, again, we have the instrument. We have our rectangular sponge connector. We have our ground clip. We have our earbuds. We have our ground cable, our certificate of calibration, and quick guide. But in addition to that, we have some other stuff that's included in the complete kit that's not included in the basic kit. So let's go through some of that. We have an extended ground wire. Now, this is a 30-foot ground wire for testing a little further away. We have some surfactant here. Now, this is a wetting agent. What you would do with this is wet your sponge. So when you wet the sponge, let me show you that here. This is a critical step I should have reviewed earlier, but so you wet your sponge before you conduct your test. Okay? Now you want to make sure that your sponge is thoroughly wetted before you do the test, because if you have a dry spot and you encounter a pinhole right on that dry spot, you could miss it because the electricity is not going to flow properly. So what the surfactant does is it allows the water, the surface tension of the water that you're wetting your sponge with to be reduced and allows you to find smaller pinholes. So just to be clear, the sponge that I used earlier when we were getting a positive test here had been previously wetted. So additionally, we have some extension rods. I can show you how these work. So the rectangular sponge here is attached with 2 metal plates and a screw. So I can unscrew that, and I can show you that real quick. So there's 2 metal plates and a screw in the middle. We can take our extension rod, attach it like so. And then attach our sponge to the end. And now I can reach another foot. Now there are 2 of these extension rods included. There's another one right there in the kit. So let me take this apart, make it a little more manageable to hold on to. Okay. So additionally, within this kit, we have some sponge sheets. Now this is just a piece of sponge, nothing fancy about it. The nice part about a holiday detector like this is you can cut the sponge to any shape you want. As long as the sponge is thoroughly wetted, electricity will still flow through it. So let's say you have a building exterior that has a funny notch in the side and you want to make sure you've got good coverage. You just cut your sponge with a little notch in the side. Additionally, if you have a coating on the inside of a pipe and you want to test the inside of the pipe, you can cut a circular sponge like that. Now, included in this kit are 2 washers and an extra screw. And you can see my washers have kind of dried into this sample sponge here. But this simply would attach onto the instrument just like your rectangular sponge would. Now, one of the neatest features of the complete kit, and I know it's, I personally find it to be one of the neatest features, is this little guy here. Now, this is a magnetic grounding post. Let's say you're testing on a very large surface. There's no good place for you to get your grounding clip attached, okay? Take your magnetic post, goes right onto your surface, you clip your ground wire on. Very handy. Now, just as a note, you still would need to make sure that the magnetic clip had access to the uncoated substrate. You need to make sure there's a constant flow of electricity and it doesn't impede that flow by putting it over the coating. So you would need to make sure there's an exposed surface underneath. But it certainly is very handy for surfaces that do not have any clear place to clip onto. Now, some of the handiest accessories that are found in this kit are the following. So we've showed you the extension tubes that give you an extra foot, or if you put them both on, an extra 2 feet. But let's say you have to reach further than that. Included in this kit are these 2. Now this is an adapter that will screw onto the end of any paint roller handle. And this is a universal adapter that will screw onto the end of any pole. Can we turn the demo camera on and I'll give a close-up here? So for example here, this is the paint roller adapter, and I hope you can see that in there, but it's threaded inside. And then this is the universal adapter, and these two screws act as a clamp. And I'll show you how this works. So in our facility here, we have a paint roller handle. You can see the threaded end there. This is nothing fancy. This is just something that we had here. So this just screws on the end. I'll come back to this. I'm going to show you the other one first. This is quite literally an old broom handle. Nothing fancy. It's a wooden pole. We can take our universal adapter. We put it on the end here. Now, how does this help us? Well, also included in our kit is this little accessory. This is a metal piece that screws onto the end of your adapter, and it will screw onto the end of the paint roller handle adapter too. If you can see that, there's a hole in the end of that one too. So we have this here now. We can take one of our extender rods, or you don't have to. I'm just going to do this because it's a little easier to illustrate. So we take this on here. I'm going to take my rectangular sponge, attach it onto the end. Okay, now, so as of right now, I've got a moistened sponge, metal tube, metal end. How do I get my electrical current back? Also included, we have an extended hot wire. This is a 15-foot hot wire, and if you look very carefully, you can see on the side of this, there are a couple little holes. So we're going to plug my hot wire in there. We're going to take our PosiTest LPD instrument. I'm going to remove this connector, and in the end, you will see there's a little hole. I'm going to take my hot wire, which again, the hot wire is just 2 banana clips. I'm going to plug it into that end. So now I have electrical flow from the sponge, through the tube, through the wire, back into the instrument. Now I can then connect my ground wire, clip onto a surface, and I can measure considerable distances away now. The length of the handle is limited only by the length of your hot wire. Like I said, this one is 15 feet. This certainly makes it nice that you can really use any handle to conduct this test. Now, also included, I haven't unrolled this in this particular case just for simplicity's sake. There are some Velcro straps that are included that you can hold the wire to the handle. Now, we do have a short video that explains this and illustrates it perhaps a little better than I just did, and it shows a real-life application. So we're going to play that now, and while that video is playing, we're going to take a moment to look through any questions or comments that have come in about this device. I will be right back with you to answer those questions, so bear with us, watch the video, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. We have a few questions to answer, not a whole lot. This is a fairly simple instrument, but I do want to answer these questions that did come in. So, what is the battery life of the unit? With 3 brand new batteries, you can get about 150 hours of testing out of the unit. On average, may vary a little bit, but that's on new batteries. Somebody asked if the instrument is intrinsically safe. With a voltage detector, even a low voltage detector, it's not really possible to make it intrinsically safe because you are essentially allowing the flow of electricity through the system. So for a low voltage pinhole detector, especially one of our design like this and any that I've seen, really wouldn't be possible to make an intrinsically safe pinhole or voltage detector. This is a great question. We do get this a lot with this instrument. Can it detect pinholes over non-metal surfaces? Yes, actually, concrete is conductive, and it will test the surface or the coatings applied to concrete. Generally speaking, you would need to have a piece of rebar or something that you could clip your ground wire to. But yes, you would be able to test over concrete. Additionally, if you had another surface or another substrate that was conductive, theoretically it would work well. That would kind of be an application-to-application question, and we'd certainly be able to help you here at DeFelsco if you wanted to give us a call with a specific application. But we are, concrete is another good one that we do get asked about a lot. And then somebody asked, how long is the extended hot wire? This hot wire is 15 feet. Like I said, it's a banana connection on both ends, so theoretically you could get a longer one and make one, but the one that's included is 15 feet. And I think that is the extent of the questions we have, unless any more have come in. Okay, well, that's the end of our presentation. I really hope that I shed some light on this new instrument and answered any questions you may have. By all means, if you do have follow-up questions, my contact information as well as the contact information for our technical department will be on the next screen. We're going to leave the screen up for a few minutes so you have a chance to jot it down. Our phone number is also listed there, so please, if you have any questions on this instrument or any of our instruments, give us a call. We have a friendly staff here that'd be happy to help you. And keep in mind that this is just the first webinar in a series that we're putting on. You should see an invite coming out shortly for the next one, which will probably be a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to try to shoot for a monthly interval, but depending on how things go and product launches and all that kind of stuff, that may not be exact, but approximately every month. So again, I want to say thank you from all of us here at DeFelsco. We hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we'll see you next time.